Hello, my name is Ann Pittaway and I'm currently working with Dr. Anne Casson on a 2-year funded project, Consolation and Hope in a Time of Crisis. For those of you who haven't heard of our project, our aim with this research is to find out how chaplains from the Catholic and Church of England education sector can nurture a sense of hope and resilience amongst Year 7 during their induction year, and therefore mitigate the sense of loss and suffering they may have suffered due to the pandemic disruption. The project is a qualitative investigation bringing the chaplains together in a virtual community of practice, or VCOP. Our rationale for this is to encourage a shared collaboration of expertise and knowledge where the chaplains can learn from each other, listen to each other and support each other. We have scheduled a total of 9 VCOPs throughout the project, and to date we have had 7 meetings with them. Accompanying each VCOP, the research team provide a research or practice digest that informs and provides a framework for discussion based on current research and practice. Copies of these digests can be found via the link on this slide, or it may be that you have hard copies as examples in front of you. We have learnt much from our discussions with the chaplains in our VCOP meetings, especially with regard to some of the barriers and consequences they faced and are still facing in light of the pandemic crisis. Chaplains' responses and reflections that I'm about to highlight are based on their thoughts of the academic year, September 2020 to 2021. But I will also fast forward to their thoughts on the transition and induction process of current Year 7 students in September 2022. When reflecting on the Year 7 transition cohort of September 2020, the chaplain spoke of students who demonstrated a sense of immaturity, with many of them just not secondary ready. They were acting very much like primary school children, and the social distancing procedures that were in place left many of them with a false sense of what it meant to truly belong to a secondary school community. This cohort had experienced fragmented end-of-school transition procedures, with visits to their new schools and end of primary school celebrations cancelled. Homeschooling due to lockdown had also left some of them with separation anxiety, so not all students actually arrived in person to their new school. Mental health and anxiety issues escalated, with issues that were once more prevalent in older year groups now being experienced amongst Year 7 students. Eating disorders, OCD tendencies and school refusers were given as examples of this. A chaplain said, "What we've noticed in bucket loads is the mental health needs of the Year 7s. It's been on a different scale from previous years, and it's just hit us like a juggernaut, really." Chaplains were also conscious that the lack of communal worship and whole school assemblies during the height of the crisis meant the whole sense of school ethos and what it means to belong to a spiritual community was fractured. As with other school staff, the chaplains we spoke to were exhausted from the endless onslaught of challenges that they were facing without protocols or procedures to fall back on. One chaplain said they felt compassion weary, and the focus on engendering student flourishing was overshadowed by the need to simply exist and react to the daily challenges of the school environment. The situation for the 2021 transition students was not much different to the previous year. However, this year's transition, according to the VCOP chaplains, has been a far more positive experience, with previous induction procedures such as school visits and summer transition days re-established. Chaplains said generally transition had been calmer and smoother for all concerned. However, they did say that the current Year 9 students, the Year 7s of 2020, as well as the Year 8s, are still showing signs of need, with many of them not seeming to be completely settled into the school environment. One chaplain said she is still seeing Year 9 students with issues of anxiety. Another said that without decrying mental health issues, she's finding that some students, especially in Year 9 and Year 8, are seeking diagnosis, as this enables them to fit in with their peers and not feel different in any way. It is almost as if some young people feel this narrative of mental health is needed in order to be part of their community. And as we were speaking to the chaplains, this is obviously of great concern to them. By listening to our chaplain participants over the past year, we have gained an understanding that nurturing hope from crisis involves a willingness to reach out and accompany one another. A chaplain spoke of how he now makes it a priority in his day to be more of a presence in and around the school. One chaplain powerfully referred to this as a ministry of presence. All the chaplains found it necessary to have time allocated for staff and students to encounter stillness and reflection in their day, and they found that more members of the school community were seeking out these moments. More were also wanting to engage with the worshipping community. There is much talk about the recovery curriculum within school communities, and while this is very important, it can't be established at the detriment of trauma recovery. Time must be given for this. Our initial findings are highlighting the importance of trusted relationships and establishing a sense of belonging as being central to fostering a community that can flourish together. Connection to a community helps identify who we are and shapes our becoming. As part of the research project, we have drawn upon the initial findings and the ongoing insight of the chaplains to produce a resource toolkit called Known by Name. In producing this toolkit, we wanted to identify an area of chaplaincy work that had little by way of resources and support. We didn't simply want to reinvent the wheel. The collective view of the chaplains was that there was a need for a resource to support the transition and induction of new students into the school community, where chaplains can have a central and significant role. For this resource, we started to unpack the idea of induction as a journey of being known. We considered 3 levels of induction. Firstly, practical induction, which can include the transfer of student data from primary to secondary school. And this is where the new secondary school comes to know about the students, not necessarily know them, but just know about them. Then there's invitational belonging, and this can include things like transition days and summer schools. And this is where new students are invited to get to meet new friends, their tutors, their teachers possibly, and it engenders this sense of collective knowing. And then finally, there's personal, relational belonging. And this is really where students come to be known by name, where they're individually known and respected and valued for who they are. Personal belonging offers the most powerful, intimate and relational sense of belonging, of being truly known, and it's at this level that we believe chaplains can play a significant role. Being known by name is rooted in biblical tradition, as we can see by the quotes here on the slide. The Bible speaks of the intimacy of belonging to God and of being loved. We love because He loved us first. Moreover, as God has loved us, so we should love one another and welcome one another as Christ has welcomed us. Chaplains are rooted in the wisdom of faith and spirituality and can call upon this rich heritage to support and invite young people to belong to their new school community by being personally known. They can accompany students and provide opportunities for them to connect with their faith, their community and school traditions. And it's from this solid foundation that students can build a sense of personal belonging and spiritual flourishing. Our new resource is based on 3 main points of induction and being known. 1, before the children arrive at secondary school. 2, during their transition day visits and in the longer process of arriving at the school. And 3, becoming known personally as a valued member of the community. Going back to point 1, before the children start at school. This section considers how chaplains could reach out to primary feeder schools in different ways, so that the relationship of being known starts even before they arrive at their new school. For instance, could the chaplains send welcome cards or a short welcome video introducing themselves? Maybe chaplains could calendarise key points for Year 6 feeder schools. For example, sending out a message, "I'm praying for you as you sit your SATs." This is such a powerful thing to do. There are many other examples in this section. You can find the book that we've produced on our website, but also again you may have some hard copies in front of you, and I suggest it would be good for you to just spend some time looking at the various sections that I am explaining at this present time. We support each section of the resource with what research states, as well as what chaplains have said who practice these ideas that we suggest. So why have we done this? Well, some chaplains have said they feel quite alone in their role and do not have a voice in their particular school. So we felt that adding what research says and including what other chaplains have said gives such isolated chaplains a voice of support, so that if they're trying to engender some kind of new approach to induction, they can go to senior leaders, they can go to their line managers and say, look, these are the ideas that I'm having, and this is what the research and other chaplains have said. This second section, entitled School Visits Days, follows the same sort of process of the first section that I've just explained to you, and it offers practical suggestions of how chaplains can have a significant role in school visit days, summer schools, etc., etc. And again, this section is equally reinforced with research and the voice of chaplains for that additional support. The third stage or third section of becoming known is ongoing, and this section provides ideas for coming to know the students personally and by name. And as with the other sections, this also has the research and the chaplain's voice to reinforce the importance of being known by name. Chaplains contributed in so many ways to the ideas that we have collected in this book, and so therefore we felt it necessary to include a final section for additional considerations, such as practical ways in which chaplains can offer a ministry of presence, and a reminder to build on leadership skills that students may already come to the school with. Possibly the benefit of applying some of these ideas also with Year 8 and Year 9 students whose transition and induction process was not as smooth as we would have expected due to the pandemic crisis. Can I just say at this point, thank you very much for listening to this. I hope that what I've spoken about supports chaplains and members of staff and students within their own school communities, and that the resource known by name is something that could be of benefit to yourselves. Thank you very much.